Now it's time to have a look at lookup tables. Our first lookup table will be table colors, and we only need two fields. The first field will be field called ID, which will be our unique identifier. So we need the numerical data type, but for the purpose of this one, we will be using tiny integer. Now, tiny integer, the difference between the integer and tiny integer is that tiny integer only takes 1 byte, and integer takes 4 bytes of memory. So obviously, if you know that you won't be storing the large numbers inside of this field, then obviously it's always best to limit to change the data type to something smaller, like tiny integer, for instance. Now, tiny integer, the minimum value for tiny integer is minus 128. If it's signed, and if it's unsigned, then it's 0. Signed attribute allows negative values to be entered, and unsigned attribute doesn't allow them. So the minimum value for signed will be, in this case, in the case of the tiny integer, will be minus 128, and unsigned value will be 0. Now, the maximum value for signed attribute of the tiny integer is 127, and unsigned is 255. And I really don't think we will be having more than about maximum 20. The maximum value won't be more than 20. So I would easily say that tiny integer is going to be just fine for the purpose of of storing the records of the colors. Now, if you would like to create assign the unsigned attribute, simply go to the attributes drop-down menu and select the unsigned. But obviously, I think the 127 is absolutely fine, so I won't be touching anything here. Now, this field, obviously, we want to be our primary key, and we want it to auto-increment every time we add in a new record. Now, the next field will have a name of simply name, and it's going to be of the varchar data type. I think that about 100 characters is absolutely enough for this purpose. Now, because we will be linking to this table, which means we will be using relationships, we need to again change the storage engine to INODB. Now we can click on the save button. Okay, if we click on our database name, and again another table, the next table will be called makes. And we need, again, just two fields. The same situation, ID of the tiny integer, auto increment and primary key, and name varchar of about 100 as well. Again, storage engine to INODB, and click save. So now that we've got makes, we can create another one. The next one will be sizes, number of fields 2 again. Now ID, tiny integer, auto increment and primary key. But now we're going to have a size. This time we're going to call it name as well, but the type we'll be using is decimal. Now, why decimal? Because obviously you can have size 10.5. So obviously we need this this decimal point to be placed in a value. So this time, obviously, what's the largest number? I don't know. Really don't know. It's about, I don't know, 17, 18, 20 something, 30 maybe. So we've got like 2 numbers before the dot and 1 after. So we've got altogether 2 numbers, third number plus dot 4. So 4, comma, we just want 1 decimal place, 10.5 and so on. So just 1 after this. Again, storage engine to INODB, click on save. Now that we have all of our lookup tables and our main table, in the next video we'll have a look at creating the join table.